Brian Ortega from Valley High Toyota has made some of the most outlandish and entertaining commercials that I've ever seen.
This is Auto Collabs.
It's really quite unbelievable how many, because from what I understand, they do a different full-length commercial every single month. Like every month of the year, they're putting out a 30-second content piece that is not just a script with person staring at a screen saying, come on down, get your next
Right, it's
deal,
like got script and production and post-production and creative development and props and obviously locations sometimes. It's pretty impressive.
To me, it just is inspiring because not only are they producing a commercial and going through the whole creative process, these are actually commercials that you would want to watch.
Yeah, they're
like
fun.
The entertainment fact, like on a past episode when we interviewed Damon, and I made a reference to the pickle commercial because I saw a keynote that Damon Lester gave at one of the conferences about how many dealers dressed up like in an industry,
like a giant pickle.
Yeah, like a giant pickle, and it's like, our prices can't be beat, and I won't be found in a pickle, and you're like, oh no, they're all doing the same thing, but they're legitimately, like Brian's team is legitimately coming up with new content, and I think it's also inspiring the fact that he comes into the car business as a guy that's basically doing used car merchandising, like he's just taking photos, and it shows that we have arrived. Like that's the thought that kept coming. That keeps coming to my mind as I look at his profile is we've arrived at the place where we finally understand that there is growth in potential in the dealership world in so many different formats.
True. Well, look, I'm looking forward to an entertaining conversation at the very least. Hope you enjoy our conversation with Brian Ortega.
Well, we snatched him literally out of the metaverse. Brian Ortega is here out of metaverse commercial world. Brian, thanks for hanging out with us here on Auto Collabs today.
I'm finally here, guys. Look, I came out and I made it out and I got a cool hat, but it doesn't match you guys.
Man, the hat though it's very like Gilligan's Island. I appreciate that about the hat, but it is definitely it's not on brand for a Sodu, So
Hold on.
It's okay.
I got you.
Look at this. Oh,
there it is.
Man, that's a clean. I love the side logo. He's got, if you're listening, he's got this Toyota hat with the nice like down and to the left-hand side, right hand if you're looking at it. That's a clean look. I feel that.
Stole it from our parts department. I bought it from our
bought it.
I stole it. I bought it.
I said charge sales.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Well, if you're not familiar with Brian and you don't follow him on LinkedIn, just word to the wise, do that first. His name is Brian Ortega. And Brian, I'd love to dig in a little bit because as it goes, what I understand about a lot of creatives in automotive is they don't express themselves quite in the way you do. So I'm guessing there's some history to the creative side of you that is probably before automotive. Can you walk us back into like where creative has started in your life and how that's transitioned to the auto scene?
Cut to, yeah. So I suck in math and science. So when I was growing up, I just used to make videos. And when I was young, we didn't have these, right? So it was VLX 200 Fisher Price or your aunt's handy cam, something like that. So we would always just try to make some videos of us skating or imitating movies. It goes way back,
like recreations, right? We're talking
recreations all the time.
This all of a sudden makes so much sense.
Then I went to college and same thing. So I said, well, I love movies. Let me be a film major. So it wasn't more production. It was more like do a 15-page paper on the sound of this movie. All right. So
you're like, what am I doing here?
Terrible. This is terrible.
Yeah.
That's great.
So
did you graduate?
I did graduate from UC Santa Barbara with a film degree, and I always just made little movies here and there.
Nice.
Auto was a different thing, right? And my GM hired me, Todd, the one in the commercials, and he just said, take pictures of used cars. And then we had a social media manager, and he didn't really do much. And I just started making videos, and he would put me on deadlines. Hey, do you have that? Dude, this is not my job. And then so we got really impressed, and we just kept churning stuff out. And that was like in 2017. Yeah.
So you started as a photographer at your store. Is that you said, like used car photographer?
Used car photographer, and that was it.
Wow. Okay.
Who could write a 15-page dissertation on the audio and Foley differences between the first and second Star Wars movies?
I'm just thinking of the notes back from the professor being like, Brian, not every movie needs more fart noises. This was a dissertation on the Pelican.
He's
brief.
he's like, is it okay? I wrote in some suggestions.
No, the cool part was like I had this crazy weird class, and she was a crazy weird professor, and we had to do like a 10-page paper. And so I did like 7 pages, and the 3 I left blank. And I said, I feel that I did everything and said everything I needed to say. And then she wrote at the end, right, I'm going to give you an A, but you're pushing it there, buddy.
Yeah, she's like, not to pass this class you did.
That's amazing.
You tried to go flex philosophical.
I was all meta. Yeah.
So when was the first time that you all kind of like broke onto the scene of especially the commercial side? Because I think that if anyone knows you from like LinkedIn or knows Valley High Toyota at this point, kind of has a little bit of understanding of the types of commercials and the types of content that you're putting out now. But what was the icebreaker on that? Because I can imagine that there's a time where, you know, you've got the social media manager, you're making a couple videos, doing the used car photography, and maybe there's like, was there a moment where you were like, this is a thing?
I feel like we need to explain for the people who aren't familiar with it. Like, Brian, why don't you give us like the summation of like the top 5 videos you've made in the last year, your top 5 favorites? Maybe give us a title and a synopsis.
Oh my gosh. Well, how about I do this? How about I just tell you to go to, it's not showing.
No. For the podcast people, we don't know what they're doing. They're walking the dog and they're jogging, they're riding motorcycles. So let's just start with the gas squatch.
Oh my gosh. So
because Michael Cirillo likes anything that has the word gas in it. So
yeah. So obviously we try to make everything relevant, everything pertaining to what's going on, right? And high gas prices. And so let me break it down. We have brainstorming sessions. These aren't all me. Trust me, they're not. And we just had one yesterday talking about our next zombie commercial, right, for Halloween. And it's really cool because, I mean, you guys get it. You just break everything down. Everybody bounces ideas and just something pops, right? So with that one, the guy pitching it, he went through a different scenarios, and then just the camping idea like really stuck to me. And I said, hold on, let's go with that one. And let's just make the whole commercial about that. And we wanted to promote the Tundra, right? And the hybrid Tundra. And it just keeps evolving. So, and then I was thinking Bigfoot, right? What happens, right? So Bigfoot comes to the story, but we're afraid of the actual gas pump, not the monster, right?
Right.
Oh my
and
gosh.
So they're like these mini thematic productions that obviously have a theme. They have a relevant theme, and they're scripted. Are they always scripted?
Yeah, we have a bare bones script, and we come in and then we'll just do stuff off the cuff. If
all
it
right,
sounds
so
better.
I just wanted to give people an idea. You had one where you were in the metaverse, and obviously your first zombies one. So they're kind of like creative, a little bit bombastic sometimes, and they're made to be kind of like, they're made to be funny. They're made to be larger than life. They're made to be outside reality, right? Like in a kind of sarcastic, tongue-in-cheek kind of way.
Oh yeah, totally sarcastic, totally cheesy. Yesterday, because I'll walk around the dealership and I'm like, "Oh, you really work here?" I was like, "Yeah, that's me." You're not some actor. No, that's me. And I go, "What do you think?" They're like, "Eh." I was like, "Oh, you don't like them?" Well,
all right,
they're kind of.
I wanted to give a feel, because you have to go watch them now. If you're not intrigued enough, you have to go see some of these because they're right to watch. Now, Kyle was asking initially before I was like, let's just take a segue and explain them a little bit more. You were asking when those types of videos start. Was that your question?
Yeah. When did that type of creative process and that thing start? Was there like a moment where someone was like, let's try this, or that you tried something and everyone liked it? How did that kind of come to pass?
All right. So we signed up with the Spectrum, to do some commercials. And initially it was just Todd in the commercials, kind of, straight face looking at the camera. And I would be in the room with him and tell him, hey, on video, you kind of got to go over the top because it brings it down, right? When you air it. So the crew was kind of looking at me, kind of giving Todd direction and hey, say it like this, do, with more fervor. And so they started coming up with the idea, and then they pitched us. They like, what if you guys do like this duo type thing? And throughout the commercials, and initially the first ones were, there's a little storyline, cut to the donut, right? Talk about the specials, and then, and the commercial. And then just over time, it's just been more of a branding thing, right? We've got rid of the specials, and kind of, we still have those ads separately, but we're focusing on the branding.
How long does it take to put together? Like, I'm watching the one where y'all jumping out of an airplane, and it's cracking me up. How long does something like that take from start? Like, are you going through the full production, like storyboarding it? I mean, you kind of alluded to that. Is it full scale production? Like, give us a sense of what it takes to actually put something out like that.
Yeah, so we'll brainstorm. Like I said, we'll kind of get everything set, the timing of, do we need other actors? Do we need some gimmicks? Do we need costumes and all that stuff? And then maybe 2 weeks later, we do the production, and we either do it at a studio, like the one that you just watched was green screen, right? And we had props for that. And it's really cool because it looks like it's a parachute, right? It's actually just a backpack and some rope that they finagled together. We're on top of a bench, and they're just rope draping the green screen or fabric over it, right? So I'm just doing a bunch of stuff. And those take about 6 hours to do at the studio. And then when we do them at the dealership, those take longer, right? You got people walking around, you got people paging people. So it's more hectic there.
And come on down, Johnny to the sales tower, to the sales tower, right?
People walking through, cut, right? They're all watching. We're shooting a commercial here.
Yeah, it's like, hey guys, could you just not use the intercom for 10 minutes? We're going to be recording. Yeah, no problem, Brian.
No, they don't listen.
Lunch
Like
is
right
in the
after.
lunchroom. I repeat, lunch is.
Yeah.
Like, someone shoot that.
Yeah.
So,
And then the
obviously,
post-production goes about, it takes about a week for post-production.
Who does that?
Wow,
Do
it's
you
a
do
lot
the
quicker
post?
than I was expecting.
Yeah. What's that?
Do you do the post, or do you
No,
farm that
no.
out, or you have somebody?
No, I mean, I do editing, but not to that point. I mean, if you haven't seen the behind the scenes of the Top Gun commercial, that guy is just amazing. What he did was take Google Maps footage and then, put it behind him with the green screen. And it's just amazing what they do.
wow, that's awesome. So you've got like that 3 week, and obviously that's a big production. That's a big part of what you're doing as a company. But, one of the things that I'm always impressed with, especially with like consummate content creators, is that there's also a bunch of micro content that comes either out of that or that's alongside that you're doing on a regular basis. Can you give a little bit of like how you integrate like macro content, commercial level content to the micro content, like making sure that there's billboards, making sure stuff is going on social, all of that type of stuff for the brand? Because I see that in your ecosystem as well. And I'd like to kind of like break down what a week or a month looks like for you in the types of content and how you're getting those out in time.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to make everything match, right? For it to really sell. I actually bought GasSquatch.com just in case, it becomes something. Yeah, so the good thing is now I have an assistant and he's able to get the behind the scenes footage. Now he's in the commercials himself, but like we'll break it down just like what you guys do. You know, you make it vertical. Remember when vertical was like sacrilege? You know,
I
like,
used to despise it. I'm like, listen, everyone,
If anyone
this is
shoots-
how you shoot a video. And like the mother-in-laws were all like,
mhm.
I like it this way. I was like, but you can't see anything, see? And now
How
it's all
dare
it's
you
only
do-
this
Oh,
way.
that is
Now I
unlawful.
never flip it. It's like
Yeah.
family videos, anything. If it can't fit into this, it's not going in.
It's just crazy how times have changed. So we cut all that footage. We have our main spot, right? The 30-second spot that goes on OTT, on commercials, YouTube, all that. And then we have like a 10 to 15-second spot that we use for pre-roll or just kind of to introduce and tease out those the big commercial, right? And with that gas squatch one, I don't know if you guys seen that one. So I had to do the Scooby-Doo reveal, we did that. So that's out there as well.
So then you're breaking down micro content. What other types of content are you putting out on a regular basis, maybe that's not attached to that you're executing in-house at this point?
Yeah, so those go as social posts. I'll send it over and, we'll use it as our ads, and I'll take frames from the videos, and talk about the Tundra, now on sale. Look out for gas squatch. So everything kind of matches the branding for that particular month. And, we're getting ready for October. And with that one, it's kind of like we've been doing the Halloween zombie commercials since 2017, and there's a storyline to it. So whenever we can throw back to it, it kind of just builds the brand, and it gets recognized in the community, right? And people actually anticipate it. What are you guys doing? We'll be walking in the showroom, and what are you guys working on now? So it's really caught on locally.
So the
what I love,
ecosystem is essentially, it's centered on this 30-second commercial, and then the rest of your ecosystem for a whole month is kind of pulling off and pulling down off of that. Is that right?
Yeah, like we'll post those behind the scenes stuff as TikTok, and we actually had that little campaign where I built a little app, and people voted, and we got their information, and then we said we're giving away prizes, so make sure you watch the reveal, who wins, Team Brian or Team Frankie. So it's a lot of things in house. And oh yeah, I always have to remind everyone, we sell cars here at Valley High Toyota.
You know what I love about this though? Like, sorry, Paul. I was just thinking, like, I think of all of the years in the past where we've all tried to wrap our heads around, but what does this do? You know what I mean? Like, and what we're seeing, like, I'm on your YouTube, I'm on the Valley High YouTube channel, and what I'm seeing is this is the fulfillment of what we have tried to wrap our heads around for so long, which is, people are like, okay, we do YouTube videos, but then they only get 3 views. It's because your YouTube videos sucked. It's because it was a shaky walk around video, and then they're like, yeah, but we don't have a reason to create better videos. And you're like, well, yeah, you do, because you're trying to tell a story.
Watching them.
Nobody's watching them. I go to your YouTube channel, I'm seeing 1,800 views, 26,000 views, 37,000 views, 12,000 views, and I can't help but think this is exactly what this is the proof point of what we've been trying to explain for years, which is that brand, and when it's aligned in the right ecosystem, wins the day. Like 37,000 people on one video now know that you exist, who didn't know you existed before, and you spend a crap ton of money, and you're spending a crap ton of money on Facebook ads every single day, when this is going to be much more memorable and lasting. And to you, like something you said earlier, which I thought was super impressive, is that people are coming into the store and they see you and they're like, wait, you're the dude from the...
You actually work here.
You actually work here. And I think
So
that's
I
so
thought you were
powerful.
taller. And I was like, no, just Todd Short, so it makes me look taller. But this is perfect for now, right? I mean, because with no inventory, right? What are they going to do? What can they look at? So we kind of built this, through time, and it's kind of taken off on its own. But they can do it. People can do it, and they're like, man, you're really creative. Well, once you get together with a team and a group of people, like I said, ideas just come out. I'm sure you guys come up with ideas all the time, and no one person is bigger than the other. But you just have to be willing to be that, audacious, just to try something, right? People have people that in their dealerships that work there that can do miracles with these things, right? And they can create some major content. So they don't have to be like us. Just get going, right? Get started.
I'm going to
so
correct
true.
you though. We're just the talent. Somebody else comes. I'm just kidding.
That'll be an awesome
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a great day. Just gonna put that right here. It'll be an awesome day. So are you a part of like the team that like tracks organic web page views and tracks, the effectiveness of the marketing? I'm unsure of that actually.
Yeah. I mean, we're
And
all
so
in on all this stuff.
And so have you seen or noticed a measurable difference over the last 3 years in just organic traffic to the website as a result of, you doing these kind of higher level, broader based, productions?
Yeah. So we try to tie it to our, the sales guys sourcing, they'll say Brian's face, or, they saw a commercial, things like that. Which is kind of funny because in the dealership, they just see me as like, what the hell's he do? But we're pulling a lot of strings behind the scenes, and organically, yeah, we've seen an uptick, and especially when we first come out with the spots, right? And we kind of tee it up, like, get ready, this next one's coming. So we do see the traffic go up early in the month when it comes to that. But also what we've been realizing is that we have to get to the punchline quicker. Like, we were talking about our next commercial, and they were like, well, what if you guys are walking through the dealership and then zombies eventually come? So you got to start off quick. You got 3 seconds to tell that story. So you're talking about the gas squatch. I go, we got to say something's going on. So that's why we had to put the sign in there, because, you got to get people's attention quickly.
What was that movie? Zombieland, was it? Where they like would show you the end, like the right before the last, like the money scene. And then they would like rewind the tape and show how they got there. I think
It's everything now, right? It might be.
I don't know. I've just got to be thinking zombies, and you're like, how did they get in this scenario? And then it's like, well, let's tell you. Right?
Yeah, let's tell the
Goes
story.
back to the beginning.
That's interesting, though. I mean, we're seeing that with TikTok, especially, right? Just micro content where, it'll be, say for example, a chef making a meal, and it shows you like he's breaking apart the sandwich, and then he's like, I'm going to show you how to make this, but the video then loops perfectly back around to that point where he's like opening up the sandwich again. And I think that's so interesting, for reshaping how we tell stories, and the fact that, to your point, Brian, you don't need a ton of time to actually set the stage and get people hooked.
No, we kind of lay it out like we have this much to kind of do the reveal, this much to have the composite, the exposition, and we got 2 seconds at the end to kind of ta-da it. So but anyone can do it, man. I mean, it's just everyone has ideas. Can't. Well, everyone has ideas.
It would be cool. With you.
It would be cool if the car did this, and it went through the loop, and it went through a red light and all this stuff. If you have the idea, you can execute it.
Well, so how do you handle it when somebody, and we're going to wrap up here in just a second, but how do you handle it when somebody gives you a really bad idea, but you got to kind of make them feel good still? We've all been in that scenario. It's like, it would be awesome if we did this, and they go through this elaborate description of what they think is the best idea ever. And yeah,
what'd be cool is if we got customers to hold up a blank white sign that said, "You should be here."
This is no. So,
everybody's
been in this scenario.
Campaigning to stop this in all all commercials. It's his new campaign.
So how do you handle that? Give us some pro advice.
Oh my gosh, it's just leave it to the experts, right? Let us handle it.
That's a very direct way to handle
that. But we all have bad ideas. We'll
absolutely.
Go, this last one, the zombie one, everyone had 3 ideas, and everyone's just like, because we're on a
Okay.
Zoom call. and
Everybody's
the
like,
director-
okay. Please, somebody say,
what if-
okay.
okay, but what if you ran?
What if it was
instead of walked?
completely different than that? But like the opposite.
What if we took that idea and changed it by 100%?
I think what's interesting, and I think kind of what you're saying without saying it, is like, hey, look, our team just comes knowing that everybody's going to have a few ideas. And the idea is that, hey, if someone has the best idea, my idea may not be the worst, or maybe it is. And I just have to kind of live with that. That there's a team, there's a culture mentality that accepts like, hey, look, my idea might be terrible one time and it might be great the next time. And I just have to be okay with that. So it sounds like that's like, the reason why you're like, we just kind of tell them it's, leave it to the experts is because you've created a culture where that's okay, and I think that that's important for people to hear, especially when they're thinking about pulling together a creative team or even a brainstorming team. Is like, hey, when you come into this room, your idea may sound like the greatest idea or the dumbest idea at any point, and you just have to be okay with that.
Right.
Oh, it's crazy because you're like, man, this is going to be a home run. Everyone's just going to be like, oh my God, you are a genius. And then crickets.
He's like, He's like, aliens.
Yeah. I mean, but the cool part though is like with the gas squatch, like I just said campfire. And then from there, we just went where it was supposed to go. And it's so great. The day that we shot that, I'm like, where's the marshmallows? We need marshmallows.
Yeah, shoot. At least we get some s'mores out of this.
Yeah, we held the spot for like the shoot for like an hour till somebody went
get
to
the
go.
marshmallows. You got to get the
amazing.
marshmallows. Well, look, obviously we had so much fun having this conversation. If you haven't already, you have to go to Valley High Toyota. Just search it on YouTube. You can go see the full anthology of Brian Ortega's work. Brian, thank you so much for sharing some of that enthusiasm and creative energy with us today. On behalf of Michael Cirillo. Okay. Oh, no, we got an idea. No, go.
No.
You got a great idea.
No. Just I put all the commercials at brianjortega.com. That way you don't have to, scroll through them. They
Even
go by
better.
year.
They're
The
all
bloopers,
tallied
the
up.
outtakes. Everything's all laid out.
We will link it up in the show notes. Thanks for being with us again today. We're going to go to Brian J. Ortega.
Brian J. Ortega, because Brian Ortega is a MMA fighter, and I'll never.
I understand
Yeah.
because Paul Daly is a designer in Europe who's really popular. So need the J.
Wow.
Well, on
You need the
behalf
J.
of Brian J. Ortega, Paul J. Daly, Michael, I don't know your middle initial, Cirillo,
Hey.
and Kyle, I should know your middle initial, and I just don't.
That's fair.
Kyle,
D.
I don't know. Kyle D. Mount Sear. Thanks for listening to Auto Collabs. We'll see you next time.
There's very few people that can get away in this world with using words like Gasquatch, zombies, and flying in airplanes in front of a green screen, parachuting, standing on a bench. Those are things that you don't typically see or hear in a podcast. Like it's I love how at some point Cirillo, because Brian said anybody can do it, and kind of jokingly, Cirillo, you were like, no, they can't.
No, they can't.
But I think there's a balance there, because I think that people can be creative and you can get a team together and do some really intentional things creatively. But I think we just have to say, like, these cats, they're on a different planet, and it's encouraging to see like that's an opportunity that's out there, and kind of get as close as you possibly can from a content creation standpoint to that.
I was thinking about our conversation with Nicole Lipkin, and there was a piece of that conversation where she was like, comparison is actually a thing that we need as human beings. And I want to position it that way because I really do think, no, not everyone can do it to Brian's level. And
Right.
like there is talent, there is skill, there is years of being creative. And like pre-show, he was talking about, or maybe it was right at the beginning, I can't remember. And he was talking about how they used to recreate movies for fun. Like all of those exercises growing up, those are building a muscle. And so, no, I actually don't think everyone can do it. But to Nicole's point, if you're not in that position and you're self-aware enough to know you can't do that, don't waste time getting discouraged in the comparison. take an inventory and say, but what could we do? Like, what is us? Like, okay, that's great for them. What could we do? Because I think to that point, there is a lot that they could discover about being creative, even if it's TikToks or short form, whatever's, like just showing the personality of the store, I think is really the key that stands out to me.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, you have to be yourself, and obviously very unique personalities. Even when we had Nate Greklich on, right? The content that Mohawk Chevrolet makes, it's fun. It's different, right? It's different than Brian's because they're different people and different personalities and different markets. And the GM is willing to let them get away with different things, right? Because there are also people that make content that's actually pretty buttoned up, but it still really works, right? Yeah. So it's not funny or it's not like totally like satire or tongue in cheek or anything like that. And so like my takeaway from it is just start. Right, everyone's got the capability of starting, and like I like how you said, Michael, it's a muscle that has to be developed. Like us recording podcasts like this and be able to turn the mic on and go isn't because we're just inherently great at it. It's just because we spent thousands of hours doing it. You have to start. You have to hit the button. We hope that our conversation with Brian inspires you to just hit the record button and make something of your own today and lean into what makes you uniquely you. And if you need some creative ideas, call Michael. He won't laugh at all. So on behalf of Michael Cirillo, Kyle Mounts here, and myself, thank you for listening to the Auto Collabs podcast.
This show not sponsored by Meta, TikTok, or YouTube.
Welcome to Auto Collabs.
Why are we recording?